Hey everybody, welcome to my page. Let's make this futon into something beautiful. These are the items that you will need for this project. This project is a very time-consuming project, but at the same time, it is very fun. So let's see what we do. All right, this is the back of the futon, well, the bottom of it, as I said. And then we start off by removing all of the plates, all of the screws, and all of the staples. Now, removing the staples is a very long and very, very tedious project, but I used my flathead. I don't know what this item is, but I'm gonna call it the pinchers. I used a pair of scissors to remove the bottom fabric. When I removed the bottom part of the fabric, I realized that I'm not gonna reuse the fabric in a sense, but yeah, this was by far the longest part of the process. It's just removing the staples, removing the screws, removing the bottom part to see what I'm working with. Now, this futon was given to me, and it actually broke. So the springs on the inside needed to be fixed, and I was like, let me try and see if I can make something different out of it. So here I'm removing the hinges because, like I said, I don't want this to be a futon anymore. Well, I don't want it to be a couch anymore. I want it to be two separate chairs. Now, the important thing about removing and everything is making sure that you keep all of your pieces together, because if you want to remake the futon back into a couch, you got to have all of the correct pieces together. Make sure you take pictures of what it looked like before, and that will help you with putting it back together. Like I said, with me, I didn't want it to be a couch, but it is very important that you keep all of your pieces together. Make sure you have trash bags, because oh my goodness, when I say this thing has 1,000,000 staples, it has 1,000,000 staples. OMG. But here is where I started to realize that I'm not going to save the bottom. I'm going to replace it. So I just started, because I was just very impatient. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find something else to use for it. Now we're opening up the bottom, and I see what state the actual springs are in. And I'm trying to see if I can unbend them, but it is a very hard process, so I have to find other ways to make sure that the springs stay. So here we go. I'm removing more of the back piece and the bottom piece, and yeah. What fun that was. And here I'm realizing that I really don't care for that anymore, and I just decided to pull it all off. and I'm making sure that I remove all of the fabric so I can see what it looks like underneath and see if I need to do any more repairs to the futon. And after I take it all off, I notice that, I don't need to do anything else besides fix the bottom parts of it. Here I noticed that the tuft pieces was connected to little strings in the back, so I don't want to do any tuft pieces, so I'll go ahead and I just cut them off so that the whole process of removing the front part of it is a little easier. So here is when it's all apart. Here are the springs that I have to fix. And all I am doing is taking the plate with a screwdriver and some screws and screwing the plates in so that way when I put it back together, I will not have to worry about the springs coming apart anymore. It does take a little bit of muscles to pull the springs to the plates. Then I'm bending the plates upward so that way it can be more secure. And I take a hammer and I just hammer it down so that it's more secure in place. And I just repeat the process with all of the springs in the front and in the back. And as you can see, it's secure. Here I'm just taking some pieces of foam and I'm really trying not to waste anything. So I take the foam that I've gotten from Walmart and I take the pieces that I am no longer going to use and I fill all of that under the springs so that it gives more comfort when you sit on the futon. And it also makes it look more full. here I am taking a regular bed sheet. I am measuring how long it has to be in order to cover the back of the futon. The bottom of the futon. I don't know why I keep on saying the back. Here I'm just drawing a line so I know where to cut, so that way the whole bottom can be covered. And I do apologize about the background noise. Can't control the trash guys outside. So now I'm just going to use the scissors and cut where I have made the lines. So that way I'm working with a smaller canvas instead of a large sheet. And it's crazy because my scissors just did not want to cut. So I had to figure out a way to keep it straight on the line and to cut it. Now, if anybody has an easier process for this, I will definitely try and use it in the next video, because this was just, the way these scissors was cutting was just mind-boggling to me, because they're sharp, but obviously not sharp enough because I had to fight with the fabric. So now you will see I'm taking the board that I will be using. I've used it to paint stuff on, but when you cover it with the fabric, you really can't see everything that's going on underneath it. But I take and cover the fabric. I cut the board down to size, and I take some staples and I staple that bad boy on. And then, I also cut any excess fabric. And, it does not look bad. It looks very finished to me. Like I said, it is so crazy how many staples they actually use to make a futon. And please, please, please make sure you are careful with this staple gun, with all of these products, because when you're working with hardware, it can hurt a little bit if you accidentally hurt yourself. So please be careful using the staple gun or any of these products in this video, because I would not want anybody to get hurt from doing this. Now, if you want to see any more videos that I will be uploading in the future, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the little notification bell so that when I do upload a video, you will be alert about it, because I have plenty more videos to come. Here I am taking the metal brackets that will be holding the legs up on the futon, and I am taking them and I am screwing them in to the wood pieces. Make sure you hold them onto the wood pieces so that way it gives you more stability for your piece of furniture that you are putting together. I was so excited to get this project done and get it out to the world. And for my first video, I feel like I did an okay job, but let me know what you think down in the comments. Anything that I could, do better in order to, I don't know, make a better video. Like I said, I'm new to all of this, but I wanted to show you guys the process. Anybody can do any type of reupholstering or changing something old to something new. It's if you have the time and the patience, it is a very fun process, and you learn along the way. And I mean, the possibilities are endless. As you can see, from this simple futon, I made 2 beautiful chairs, in my opinion, because I like the fabric and I like the way it looks, and the joy of just doing this process and making something old into something new. And here I'm just making sure that all of the foam that I left on the futon is tightly packed underneath the legs, so that way when I put the ending fabric on, it can have a more finished look, a more polished look. And I'm also screwing some of the board pieces on so that way it does not budge. There you go. After that is done, I have the cushion part, and as you can see, the pieces that I have added on the inside makes a nice comfy seat. And now all I have to do is take my fabric and put it back on. Right here, I am measuring the size of the bottom fabric, which I got from Walmart. It was like $8. I had went to Hobby Lobby at first, but they're expensive. So now I'm taking this fabric and I am cutting it down to size. I'm leaving a little extra so that way when I pull it through the openings and staple it down, then I will have extra. I don't have to sit there and sew any extra pieces on there. I can just staple it down and cut any of the excess fabric off of the futon once I am finished stapling it. So here I am going to place the fabric back on the futon because I have cut it down to size. Then I will be pulling it through and making a more uniform appearance. Here I have started to pull it through and I had started to staple it down to the seats. And it is highly important that you pull it as tight as possible. Of course, on the first end, you won't pull it so tight, but then when you go to the other side, make sure that you pull it as tight as possible. Therefore, you will not have any wrinkles. And the only creases that you will have is the creases that you make. And more staples. And here is my example of the staples. I did have to go through and take some of the staples out and re-put them in because some of them did look like they weren't all the way in the fabric. But this is what the bottom is starting to look like. I did fold over the creases so that way it makes a nice edge and it doesn't really bunch up on the portions that you can see. It does bunch up on the portions that are on the bottom because, like I said, I did have some extra fabric. Now, if you want, you can cut it down more to size before you staple the fabrics on. the fabric on. However, if you leave a little extra fabric, if you happen to make a mistake, it is easier to fix the mistake, and it is easier to use. It's easier to cut down after you staple than to add fabric on before you staple, because you cut too far. So now I'm taking another pair of scissors and I am cutting my excess fabric off. And this process was a lot easier than cutting the white sheet. I guess because it was already stapled on to the seat. But as you can see, I still had a little bit of struggles. But it came off nice. And I'm making sure that the brackets for the legs, it's still exposed, so that way it is not hard for me to screw on the wooden legs. And then I just, proceed to staple the excess pieces on that I cannot cut off anymore. But as you can see, I fold it over so that way it looks a lot nicer on the bottom part of the futon. And I proceeded and I did the top the same exact way. And as you can see, I came out with a beautiful looking futon. This is how it looks on the floor. At first I got some short legs and I noticed that the futon was too short. So I went out and I got some longer legs, as you can see in the next couple of videos. If you want, you can add some board pieces to make it even more stable. But join me for my next video, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, because this is a new page and I would love, love, love to hear all of everything that everybody has to say, as long as it's nice. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye now.